Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, the live stream, the podcast, and of course the Portugal Club, where we have a thread, Storm Kristen update, aftermath update. Although we have, of course, moved from Kristen. Well, we haven't moved. That would be a very silly thing to say in relation to people who are still struggling with the after effects. But in terms of weather, we've now moved from K to L, and Leonardo, of course, the new kid in town that's lashing down upon us in parts of Portugal. How has Leonardo been for you? Certainly for us, it was last night in the last 24 hours. And Leonardo is forecast to go on until tomorrow, of course. But it was just like being back in December and earlier January when it was just raining all the time anyway. So it's like back to normal in a way with Leonardo. But of course, it's extraordinary. And it doesn't help with the aftermath and the cleanup and everything that everyone's trying to do after Kristen, the worst storm in Portuguese memory. And things that are percolating to the top now through the waterlogged land that we live in, this wonderful country. It's amazing people in quite a sorry state at the moment, it has to be said. It would be it would be wrong to just gloss over any of these things, and we really are trying to strike a balance here of positivity and dynamism and getting through this whilst recognizing the scale and impact of what's been going on. We will take a look at what's behind the weather, and a very interesting question that I've been asking. I mean, it's not an interesting question because I've been asking, but it's interesting to see, and it remains of interest to me to answer this question. I didn't ask this person's permission, but I was following a thread on social media. Want to understand why we have this weather and if this is the new normal for Portugal. Now, I don't think that was a question as in, do you want to understand? I suspect we all do. But this led to quite an interesting bit of meteorological reporting, which if we go in that direction this morning, I will share that with you. Talking of sharing images on the screen as I was there, do you remember these days when we used to have a palavra de dia, which I used to call what a palavra? It was a prophecy. Chuva. I should have just kept quiet. Look at that. That was from, I don't know, that must have been about 5 years ago. But that's certainly how it looked. That could be a weather report as much as a new bit of vocabulary. While we're there, what's behind me is this that came up many years ago, I think. We are expecting, this isn't from this season of rain. We are expecting a lot of rain in Portugal over the next few days, and without a dryer, I may need to resort to this idea. I have my doubts about how effective this would be, but there's certainly so much ingenuity going on. We do have, you may have a roof to repair or to replace, and even on the sort of more micro level, there is the day-to-day of washing and drying clothes. Here's an idea for you, and I'm sure there are many great Portuguese innovations for doing this. This won't be the first time. People have had to dry clothes in wet weather. Let's stay with the pictures. I did ask John. He sent me a lovely medley of pictures yesterday. Looking forward to better times. Maybe if we talk about sunshine and rainbows, we'll get them rather than talking about rain all the time and getting that. And here was a brief glimpse of the sun accompanied by a rainbow only a few days ago. And I asked John yesterday, how is it looking at Ponte Lima down by the river there? Because we talked about the market there being the oldest in the country. 900 years old, the Monday market at Ponte Lima. How, though, are they coping with the rain there and the inundation of the Lima itself? A couple of pictures from John. That's how the water is lapping against I think that first part of the river you can see, you can normally walk upon. You'd have to be Jesus to walk on the other bit, but that first part I don't think is usually inundated by water like that. And here's another angle as well. Yeah, clearly you can go a bit further out in normal circumstances, and I use the word hesitantly. Normal, what's normal anymore? But there you go. Yeah, you can normally touch that sign without getting wet. Thank you, John, for those, and welcoming pictures on 913-590-303, as well as any video you've got. Good morning, Hugh, who has his suspicions about what's causing the weather. Sarah, Ian, We've got Pete here as well. Good to hear that Diane's making a good recovery, according to the surgeon. Chris, good to see you here as well. Come back to you, and Matty. Good so far. Good to see your comments this morning. Please say hi. If you're checking in to check in and say hi, please do so. Morning to you, Henry and Nina, as well. If you're here and you're lurking, why not say hello? I guess it's difficult to stay anonymous, but you may have one of those YouTube accounts. I get quite a lot of followers on YouTube that have a name that's not their own name and a picture that is not a person. And it works. I guess that works both ways. I much prefer dealing with people who I can see want to face up and show up, but I do understand why people want to remain anonymous in the world of social media as well. But I find it difficult to respond to comments where people are anonymous unless they've reached out to me in some other way as well. Right, let's have a look then at Leonardo. That's the current challenge. Morning, Kate. Good to see you as well this morning. There are three themes. What's going on behind the weather, the underreporting, or the scale of what's going on in Portugal that isn't being completely comprehended or grasped. Now, you expect this on the world news stream, that things move on. Do you remember the Venezuelan president was kidnapped? It's like, well, what happened to that? Or what happened to that situation? Things just move on, don't they? And it will be completely understandable, although not ideal, that things will move on away from attention on Portugal. But at the same time, Portugal, we might not be helping ourselves in not reporting or underreporting, and hence an article I want to take a look at where an NGO says the number of storm victims is much higher than the media reported numbers, says that NGO there. So we'll come back to that. I don't think necessarily this is a conspiracy of the media to keep the information quiet or hidden. They've got other things that they want to keep quiet and hidden. Good morning to you, Jacqueline, as well. I'm sure underreporting what the true scale of what's going on in Portugal is not one of those items on the agenda, as it were. Morning, Gary. And good to see you as well. But it is interesting and unhelpful, I think, for to underreport. But at the same time, people are just getting on with patching up their buildings, aren't they? And maybe they think, what's the point of reporting? We're not going to get any help. We might as well crack on ourselves. And actually, that might be very wise. That might be very wise. My article in the Portugal Resident this week is the noise is coming from the building where the grown-ups used to be. It's a bit like the Wizard of Oz. We are the grown-ups now, and hoping for help from underfunded governments with other agendas and plans. We might be not leaning against an open door. We might be mistaken to think that there are people behind that door who are planning and working on helping us. They may just be feathering their own nest, or they've gone off and buggered off to do other things. Forgive me for being cynical, but I think it is a bit a Wizard of Ozzy at the moment. We're not in Kansas anymore. And when you twitch the curtain, when you have a look behind the curtain, there is just a bloke doing a few circus tricks. It would appear. And Kate seems to agree this time it was underreported. Maybe it always is. It's a lot to do with Portuguese resourcefulness and probably mistrust and cynicism about the government. What's the point? Maybe. I don't know for sure. Let's discuss that further, and as well as the possible reason behind the big picture, behind the weather picture this morning. But first, let's go to the most immediate and pressing matter as we continue our daily live streaming, just to make sure everyone, if possible, gets the help they need, connecting people, offering help, needing help, a check-in for the community, a very important part, I think, of sparking up the machinery in the morning just to make sure everybody's okay, get a report from you from where you are in your part of the country. Preparedness as well, been sent some good info about generators, which is up in the Portugal Club, and of course the weather, where we will go now. So taking a look at Safe Communities Portugal, our go-tos for the weather. And it's really reassuring, actually, to see that someone's got their crayons out. You know, the weather terror pictures where you have these, these sorts of things. Look, Really looks like publicity shot for the end of the world or the day after tomorrow, whatever those disaster movies are called, where Bruce Willis saves us in a vest with oil on his face. There's a really nice old school picture further down in Safe Communities Portugal. Look at this, everybody. Someone's got their felt tips out. I like this. I'm reassured by this morning. Isn't that amazing? So there you go. There is a still orange, various risks. I mean, it will apply to you differently around the country, but different levels of risk. And it looks like the epicenter of Leonardo could well be in a band across south of central Portugal on this occasion. We're looking at Leiria, still Santarém, Setúbal, Porto Alegre, e Évora for Leonardo's path across the Portuguese mainland here. And this was another interesting thing about the reporting of the weather and what it's being called and what might be behind it. Storm Leonardo and an atmospheric river. Storm Leonardo influence has started on the mainland. This was reported 13 hours ago at Safe Communities Portugal. Of course, I will put the link to it into the chat for you and tell you a little bit more now. The Storm Leonardo, the influence is being felt on the mainland. Yellow level rain warnings for Faro, Beja, Évora, Santarém, Lisboa and Setúbal districts from 6 last night. Rainfall that is sometimes heavy and persistent. Right, so I think we're going to take that for granted that is the case for many people in Portugal. On satellite images, and it's possible to see also the large band of clouds following towards it from the Caribbean. Do you say Caribbean or Caribbean? From the perspective of meteorology, it is a large conveyor belt of warm, humid air towards more northerly latitudes, and in this case, towards the Iberian Peninsula. Within this belt, a narrow, elongated zone often appears where the concentration of water vapor is very high. This is what we call an atmospheric river. And at this point, a river in the sky, it's being called as well. It just sounds biblical, doesn't it? And there shall appear a river in the sky. Noah, prepare yourself. An atmospheric river is a long, narrow, and concentrated band of water vapor in the atmosphere, often called a river in the sky. I mean, we've got bulging rivers on the ground here and rivers in the sky above us that transports massive amounts of moisture from the tropics to higher latitudes. As you can see, it's a phenomenon on a much larger scale than Storm Leonardo itself. The storm is one of the atmospheric phenomena that influences or modulates its direction, but the main driving force is the upper level jet stream. When this band rises, either because it enters a storm updraft zone or because it impacts the ground, especially in mountainous areas, very heavy rainfall occurs. And that's what we're experiencing with Leonardo. So there you go. The warning is that it will continue until tomorrow. Very complex weather situation. Well, it can be simplified as pissing rain, basically. Pardon my French. But yes, I guess it on a different level, it's very complex. Civil protection warns of a very complex weather situation with the approach of Storm Leonardo. Therefore, it has raised the alert level to the highest level. Based on this weather scenario, the entire country device has been raised to special alert level 4, the highest level we have. And it's at times like these where you kind of think we're running out of levels, everybody. And we do want a de-escalation in some way here. And the weather scenario is that Storm Leonardo is north of the Açores and is expected to move very slowly eastward over the next few days without directly affecting land. Well, that's good if it can go on its way without hitting the land. So there you go. That's a little bit of an update, and stay in tune with Safe Communities Portugal for the progress of Storm Leonardo. Chat among yourselves for just a moment. Well, actually, here let's. I had my full intro this morning, didn't I? So a full stream, and who doesn't like, yes, etc., etc., as well as a little bit of a barraging spurt here for you. This is what's going on with the barragens, in case you missed it yesterday, and to give me a chance to have a little sip of tea. Here is some video from Henry and Nina yesterday. Yep, those were the days. And let's say hi. Who's here this morning? Who was here first and ready to check in this morning? Matty, blimey, 7:14. Bom dia, alegria a todos e feliz quarta-feira. And Chris, hola, bom dia as well. Wednesday, the roads are clear. It seems less and less people travel to the office on this day, on hump day. Yeah, I guess that's quite good psychologically, isn't it? If you can work from home, you do a couple of days at the office and go and hang out with your insufferable colleagues in whatever environment that's been designed for you for maximum productivity by the powers that be and pay you. And then you think, okay, if I strategically have hump day off, then there's only 2 days in the office after that, and then we can bunk off a little bit on Friday. Is that a very cynical view of corporate life? We are now in February, and the days are noticeably getting longer. My train looks like The Walking Dead. I always thought that, you know, 50, no, 45 years ago, I always, even when it was busy on the train, it looked like The Walking Dead to me, Chris, commuting in London. Are they getting noticeably longer in terms of how they're dragging on, or are you getting more sunlight? I hope it's the latter. Now this great, the train is moving. The train also like the Walking Dead. Mondial Agrigampus from T-Duck. I think it's going to rain forever. Matty, quick on the uptake here, saying T-Duck, no, it won't. Give it 4 weeks, and do you know? I suspect this is also true. That this is how it works in any year here in Portugal. You know, we suffer the damp and cold in the Portuguese winter, which we hope won't go too far into February or March. The sun comes back, and all is forgiven, and we take part in the collective amnesia. Bring it on, Matty, is what I say. Bom dia todos e feliz quarta, though I thought it was Tuesday. Well, it's like that at the moment, isn't it? How is everyone doing today? All safe, I hope. And that's why some people need a job, so they know what day it is. Matty, calma. You're not in Germany anymore. I was a minute late, I think, this morning. Looks like Carl has a Munson delay today. Well, if that's my contribution to culture, that there is something called a Munson delay, which isn't really a delay. It's just making sure everything's okay before we start. And what's a minute between friends, or 15, or sometimes not at all. A Munson delay. Here you go. My contribution to be known forevermore. 4 weeks is forever, isn't it, when it's peeing down like this? If you're a goldfish. No, if you're a goldfish, it just passes. Everything just passes very quickly, doesn't it? Just in the moment. We look down on the goldfish consciousness, but we've got a lot to learn from goldfish. Morning, Andy, as well. Andairo, bom dia, Malta. Looking forward to some frivolity. Wait, what are you up to today? Frivolity this morning? Bring it on. Carl will be on. Just remember, it is, yes, the Munson delay. Matty's named it, called it. We're going to the oceanarium today. Yes, more water. It's not outside, but it seems like it, especially in the tropical area. Yeah, you will get a little bit of an uplift, won't you? Yep, we all heard the intro. Full length this morning, and yes, complete the blanks. Who doesn't like? Bon dia to you, Sarah, as well. Coach Turner, thoughts and prayers. Our local trains have engineering works for the next few weekends. The joy of bus replacement services beckon. I noticed as well that the Porto Metro people, some of them, not the drivers, I think the maintenance staff, are going on strike. Going on strike when the country is hit in this way can't be very popular, can it? I wouldn't have thought. I don't know if that's going to help there. I guess they want to hurt the bosses rather than the people, but we'll see what happens there. This is less Da Vinci Leonardo and more evil Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one, or one of DiCaprio's nasty characters. Good morning. Huge rains overnight. Hugh's theory is the weather is being tampered with. What does a spy do during the rain? The frivolity Andy was looking for. He goes undercover. You still got your Christmas crackers out, Pete. Bond here from Henry and Nina in Central. How you guys doing? Lots of love to Annie and George, who I connected with. They got hit badly, if you know Annie and George. Mama Bear's okay. Batty's okay as well. Do you remember Batty looked like he was on his last legs, bless him, when we last saw him on the screen? But he's made a recovery, and he's just going to go back to his leishmanosis, is it called? The sand fly, or whatever it's called, the latest veterinary thing anyway to affect dogs. Batty's going through a protocol for that, but he's made a good recovery, bless him. Well done, Em, and I'm glad to hear you weren't hit too badly in your part of central Portugal. Yeah, speedy recovery. For Diane, of course, sending our best. Please pass on our best wishes, if you will. this morning to Diane when you speak to her, Pete. Dull and dry, so's the weather. How dare you, sir? I made it today. Good on you. Why is that? How come you made it today and not other days, Kate? And we haven't had a Bygrave bonus for a little while over at the Portugal Club. I've been watching. My YouTube avatar isn't exactly me, but it's really close. Yeah, I mean, I think the first day I met you, you were wearing that attire. Good morning to you, Jacqueline, as well. Gary, how you doing? Bondi it all. Talking of spies, the Beeb have been replaying Smiley's People. I wonder why. I loved the Tinker Tailor movie with Gary Oldman. That was so good, and it's where I saw. I think it was discovered was it Sacha Distel? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good tune in that, but what a brilliantly dark and difficult movie that was. It reminded me how great an actor Alec Guinness was. There are definitely Profumo vibes in the air, aren't there, with the greatest political scandal of. It's so weird, isn't it, what's going on with old Pedo Mandelson? Sorry, forgive me. It's difficult, isn't it? Making light of these horrible situations. I guess it's kind of dark humorous to make the best, but what a horrible situation in the UK. And it beggars belief, the naivety of the media reporting it. And as I keep in touch with what's going on, oh my goodness, can't believe politicians would do this in public office. Would feather their own nests and do things to their own personal advantage and aren't really public servants after all. Oh God, these are hardened, cynical media people being really surprised at what's gone on. Anyway, what was strange was that normally we get extreme weather warnings and often it never transpires. Yes, this time it was underreported. Yeah, well, I guess that's the lot again of being in public office. You can't get it right very often, to be fair, can you? And so many other fingers are pointing back at us as we're pointing one finger at the authorities. More fingers are pointing back. I think, folks, it's the shape of things to come. We've got to organise among ourselves much more than hoping for the best and expecting too much from under-resourced, self-interested governors, basically governmental leadership, so-called leaders. Ian, he was an amazing talent, Alec Guinness. Do you know what? Funnily enough, I've been watching interviews or little interview clips with Richard Burton and David Niven, and it's amazing, isn't it? The sense of gravity and charisma that it was before social media, I suppose. They could protect their charisma and hide their private lives and would see. Well, Richard Burton struggled to hide his private life. Him and Elizabeth Taylor, I think, were the beginning, weren't they, of Hollywood scandal spilling onto the pages of newspapers in the way that it did in the 70s. But amazing to hear somebody like David Niven or Richard Burton speaking, Alec Guinness, who you speak of here, compared to modern day actors. I suppose a bit overexposed, aren't they? If you want to see the best performance, watch Kind Hearts and Coronets. Yes, Alec Guinness plays 8 roles, including women. And is it the Lavender Hill Mob that's an Attenborough movie that he's in as well, in a kind of lighter hearted, slapsticky sort of role. Morning, John. Good to see you. Jeannie, great to see you here. Nothing in the news here in Belgium. Thank you for popping in, Jeannie. Yeah, the news agenda's moved on. This was a long time ago in world news, wasn't it? What happened last Wednesday going into Thursday. And Portugal will have been forgotten about. And it's certainly something that Garvo said on the great Garvo Austin, Gary Austin. He prompted some of my thoughts around this, about how we're maybe not doing ourselves any favors and things are being underreported here in Portugal. Gary says, at what point will Portugal admit that it actually could do with a bit of help from its EU buddies? Because if this had been in some other part of the world, disaster relief operations would be flooding in from all over the place by now. I think there's some truth in that, Garvo, but there is just so much going on as well. That's another part of this, isn't there? There is so much going on in the world that draws the attention, draws the resources, and actually leaves people quite befuddled and not knowing what on earth to do. I think the sound of rain on the caravan takes some getting used to. Is it just background noise? There's a lot of white noise for you. Have been on some interesting global weather sites, went off down a rabbit hole until I hit a firewall. Okay, that's an interesting, and we've all been there, I think, haven't we? First of all, You see something on X, oh, have a look at that. That sounds interesting. Can't be right. Can't be true, can it? Down a rabbit hole and then a firewall. A familiar path for some of us. Yes, I've seen that, Pete. An absolute joy. Yes, that's the Alec Guinness movie, Kind Hearts and Coronets. 28 millimeters overnight. Nobody likes that. 28 mil overnight. That's extraordinary, isn't it? Thank you for your stats there, Hugh. My favorite film, Ian, especially the European ending, they had to tone it down for the Yanks. What happened? After a couple of very dull, damp days here in the UK, it's supposed to be brightening up today, looking out. I'm not sure. I believe the forecast. Yeah, indeed. Nubia Net, good to see you here as well. Good morning to you. I hope you get a good amount of time to dry out sooner rather than later. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your kind wishes. How are you? How are things going for you over there? Explanation needed for the background. Is that your wash drying under an umbrella? It is. Did explain earlier on, John, that this is from a meme a long time ago, not from this current rainy season, but this was something that not that. The shaker tarpaulin. A lot of homes are sporting a new shaker tarpaulin. We discovered yesterday. Yeah, there you go. That's a wash drying, as it were, innovation. That from Margaret's Portuguese kitchen. I think that could be 2 or 3 years old. But I was looking for a backdrop this morning, and I typed into my pictures rain, and that's one of the things that came up. Got quite a few videos, actually, to be fair, from over the years of pouring rain, heavy downpours. But maybe I can do a video background. I'm not sure, but that might get a bit annoying after a while. Well, lots of people joining us this morning. Thank you for checking in. Let us know you're okay. If we haven't heard from you in the last few days and you're arriving this morning, please let us know how you are and update us. That's what we're here for in the mornings. Tubes, lovely to see you back at an ungodly hour. Who's that? That's a typo, isn't it? Morning, Mel. Good to see you. And yeah, sorry to hear of how seriously you've been affected as well. Lots of love to you. Bob Deere from Neil, and he's still experiencing a wet Morganiera. Apply ointment. Morning, Neil. Got to London Bridge. All of a sudden, it seemed as if 1,000 passengers boarded the train. Then once again, the slow move on to Blackfriars. Look at these names: Blackfriars, London Bridge. The London commute. About the 4th time Mandelson has had to resign. Who'd have thought it? Yeah, it's disgusting, isn't it? It really is disgusting. And I mean, he's an unctuous fellow. It always has been, like Tony Blair. The first time I clapped eyes on these people, I just thought, yuck. And yeah, okay, let's give him a chance. Make him the American ambassador, special envoy, this, that, and the other. Unbelievable. Other days, we were either without internet, buying building materials, carrying out repairs to the roof. Oh, dear, Kate. Removing fallen trees and clearing up the land. Bless you. Thank you for being here this morning. Hope you've managed to have a super box as well from time to time. I was doing a few bits of DIY. I managed to put a drill into my thumb yesterday. It was just a lack of concentration. It wasn't a drill bit. It was the power driver. A Phillips. I've now got a Phillips scar on my thumb there from not paying attention. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing, isn't it, at the moment? If you're cabin bound, cabin fevered, you can get on with a bit of DIY inside, obviously not outside. Hoping everyone is holding up. Morning to you. Good to see you, Wayne, and keeping dry. I'm just hacked off. My local walk is a bit damp. First world problems, absolutely. We've got to keep it in perspective, haven't we? But yeah, fair enough. Let off a bit of steam if you want. We do understand the context and the perspective. If you're peed off, though, you're peed off. And if you want to get it off your chest, shout it out in the comments, folks. We're connecting this morning, as we do every morning, Saturdays and Sundays included, while this is going on. Morning to you, Pedder. That's an interesting grin there. That's the sort of grin that somebody has when you've let Polly out of the cage in a lift and other people are getting in. You look like you've done something there, Pedder, that you're quite proud of personally. That might be a shock for other people. I'm not sure if that was intended there. You look lovely, by the way, and good morning to you. I don't know why that came to my mind, but I've got cabin fever as well. at the moment. Right, where were we? Ah, yes, this underreporting thing, and then some weather theories and a little bit of preparedness. Let's go to the number of storm victims, much higher than media reported numbers, says an NGO. I don't know which one. Let's find out, shall we? Portuguese Council for Health and Environment slams authorities' response. There's a fair bit of slamming going on. Some people feel like they've been looked after well. A lot to do with and this is what it comes down to in the end, isn't it? Is, and look at that, it says millimeters on that registration plate there. It's more like the 80 than the 2 on that registration number there on the Merc in front of us in that picture. But anyway, yes, local people, community, definitely helping each other out, coming to the fore. That's a very Portuguese response. And then as you go up the chain, as it were, the hierarchy, some people getting some great care and help. Things have been announced, and some people are, what's the word? Slamming, slamming and criticizing the situation, not being helped enough. And there's a fella there wading through the water, getting his trousers all wet. The Portuguese Council for Health and Environment has warned that the total number of victims of the Kristen weather bomb disaster is certainly much higher than the direct victims reported by the media. I don't think, if you think about it, we're not surprised to hear that, are we? In a statement, I suppose the takeaway from this is to keep checking in with people and to see how we can help people in whatever way is best done by any of us. In a statement, the NGO describes authorities' response as clearly inadequate. Serious effects on health services result from structural damage, failures in water and electricity supply, difficulties in accessing facilities, and a shortage of professionals, leading to the total or partial inoperability of multiple establishments, said the council's president, Luís Campos, quoted in a statement. Probably very unwelcome from leaders and people of the government. Criticism from an NGO leader whose job it is to criticize the government. In probably quite a dry office at the moment. Public health problems associated with floods, which are affecting some regions of the country in a particularly serious way, mean that the total number of victims of this disaster is certainly much higher than the direct victims reported by the media, he points out. Among the main causes are difficulty in accessing healthcare, accidents during cleaning and repair of homes, as well as an increase in waterborne infectious diseases. This is something to keep an eye on now, isn't it? As the the various water compartments may cross-contaminate. This question came up on our Good Morning Portugal. Well, our San Martino de Porto grapevine. Is it safe to drink the tap water yet? I wouldn't personally right now. The direction just recently was to boil it for 10 minutes. I don't think you want to be drinking the tap water. I don't drink tap water anyway. I use a filter. Always have done. But it's a matter of personal taste, but the personal taste at the moment, I think, or if your personal reflection on this I would err on the side of caution personally and not drink what's coming out of the tap. It could well be cross-contaminated. So there is talk here of the increase in waterborne infectious diseases, skin diseases, chemical contamination, and mental health disorders. The organization reports health services that were affected by Storm Kristin, such as Figueira da Foz Hospital, which was forced to close its operating theatre. And on that goes. But just to get a sense, from a more positive dynamic point of view, it's easy to think just like there are microclimates of weather, there are microclimates of how people have been affected here. And it's easy to assume that things are better and we've moved on in a way that isn't the case for some people who still haven't got electricity, internet connection, and sometimes water as well. So spare a thought for those folks. We will do a little bit of weather speculation this morning. Pedder, you took that well. Good to see you, mate. Interesting that the main heavy winds and rain hit at the same period daily between 12 and 6. Storms seem to have a watch these days. It's interesting, isn't it? Pete did respond when I said, well, why do storms mainly happen at night? It's very interesting, isn't it? We are getting the pouring rain during the day and a bit of wind, but it just intensifies at night, as though on a clock, on a timer. If you could share if I could share my 20-degree weather with you all, I would. But bless you. That sounds lovely. We got soaked and windswept in December. Wind is scary. This is California, isn't it? When tree roots aren't so deep as it can be in dry climates like California. Yeah. And the ground is so waterlogged. Some trees that would normally hold up here in Portugal it just can't get a grip, as it were. Seen at least one report showing parts of Portugal have received 3 times more rain this January than in England. Wow. Finally at my desk. Well done. Have you been to see that barista? Can you say hi to your barista and ask him what he thinks of Portuguese coffee? Let's start the day. PMQs is going to be interesting today. It is, isn't it? However, it's going to be more pantomime, isn't it? People really are ready to see some decisive, strong action. And, King Charles, for example, could lock Andrew up in the tower and say, we don't tolerate this. This is disgusting. This is what we do. We'll lock him up in the tower. Something of that scale would be pretty awesome right now, would it not? I watch it to see if the leaders are going to get down and nasty. Yeah, bit of panto, bit of distraction. Will anything change? I wonder. It's not a criticism of you. I too will be watching PMQs today, if only to satisfy my own cynicism, causing each other like kids do at school. Cussability. The cussability factor is high. Another sip of tea. Oh, no, let's put the on-air button back on so you can hear. So finally then this morning, I don't think we necessarily need to do a full hour. For those watching on replay, when you think, shall I watch that program? And you see, oh, an hour. No way. But I can't help it. Once we get chatting on here in the morning, it can quite easily extend to an hour. Let's keep it a bit briefer. And I know that people are catching up with this on the watch again, as it were, on YouTube. A lot of people, most people, in fact, are seeing this later on. So do connect. Just because we're not live doesn't mean you can't leave a comment or say you're safe and well. Please do that. And if you've got any questions or comments, leave them in there as on the comments in YouTube or wherever you're watching as well. Facebook, X, YouTube, and even LinkedIn. Do leave questions. I do get to see them, and we'll bring anything that needs to be brought to our attention on the live stream here in the morning as well. So just finally then, that question was asked over on Facebook. Want to understand why we have this weather and if it's the new normal for Portugal. It's a question lots of us have been asking, of course, just recently. And this person seems to have found, well, it's one answer. It's not the answer, of course, but theories, where people can have an intelligent conversation about this and not just get into it's climate change. No, it's not climate change, you idiot. And that's the end of it, kind of. We probably need something a little bit more practical than that, don't we? As we do in so many other areas where it tends to go like that. It's like this. No, it's not. You're an idiot. Oh, okay. No, you're an idiot. And it's like, oh, okay. Can we do better than that? Let's take a look, shall we? Let's start this conversation. All theories, why can't they be heard with respect? And even if you do think someone's an idiot, you don't need to sort of go straight into that and end the conversation. It is possible we might all learn something by continuing to communicate with each other. That's my vain hope anyway. Why is the Iberian Peninsula experiencing a continuous string of storms? It's a good start. Let's go there. In recent weeks, the Iberian Peninsula has experienced a drastic change in its weather pattern for this time of year, characterized by the incessant passage of fronts and storms. Yes, that is a good way of putting it. The IPFS, the incessant passage of fronts and storms, to understand why it keeps raining and why storms keep coming one after another. Yes, our standing joke is storm of the week, is it not? That's been happening for ages. It's necessary to look to the upper atmosphere always. And analyze the behavior of the jet stream and atmospheric blocking patterns at high latitudes. And altitudes. The jet stream, the direct cause of this situation is the jet stream. It's a river of strong winds that circulates at an altitude of about 10 to 12 kilometers and acts as the conductor of the weather in mid-latitudes. This current separates the cold polar air from the warm subtropical air and guides the polar front, which is the area where storms originate and move. Storms typically circulate at higher latitudes. However, when the polar jet stream shifts south and points directly towards the Iberian Peninsula, it acts like a conveyor belt or highway that brings storms directly to us. So it's to do with our latitude, according to this theory. The culprit behind the detour is the anticyclonic blocking system in the north, The reason the polar jet stream has shifted southward and continues to point towards Spain and Portugal, by the way, we're at the front here in a phenomenon known as the North Atlantic blocking system, the NABS, I shall call it. The wall in the north, a bullet point here, a powerful blocking anticyclone has formed between Greenland and Scandinavia high latitudes. The high pressure system acts like a rock in a river, forcing the jet stream to deviate. The open path to the south, unable to travel its usual route north, the jet stream is forced to shift southward. This opens a corridor or direct path from the Atlantic to the Iberian Peninsula, channeling a succession of very active storms toward our region. And we end up with the negative North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO. The atmospheric pattern coincides with a negative phase of the North Atlantic Oscillation, positive NAO, a negative NAO. So why is it so persistent? And there's a connection with the Arctic here. The duration of this episode is explained by the wavy and slow nature of the jet stream influenced by Arctic warming. We end up with a wavy jet stream and stagnant patterns. It sounds like a metaphor for everything else that's going on in the world, isn't it? Wonky waviness and stagnation. The intensity factor, then, going back to atmospheric rivers and cyclogenesis, it's not just the frequency, but the intensity. These storms often arrive laden with moisture via atmospheric rivers, long, narrow bands that transport water vapor, as we heard before, from the subtropics to our latitudes, acting as fuel for extreme precipitation. You can say that again. The conclusion, then, according to this particular post from Charles Gordon, the continuous succession of storms crossing the Iberian Peninsula is not a coincidence, but rather the result of a persistent anticyclonic blocking pattern at high latitudes. Think Greenland and Scandinavia, that has forced the jet stream to circulate further south than usual. This configuration, combined with a negative North Atlantic Oscillation and a more wavy and slower jet stream, has left the Atlantic door wide open. As long as this blocking pattern persists, the Atlantic circulation will continue to act as a near stationary system. Oh no, feeding storms over the Iberian Peninsula, prolonging periods of unsettled and rainy weather. That's I think that's the analysis of a Raphael Roldan there, and there's the picture of a wavy jet stream. Let's wave goodbye to the wavy jet stream for now, but that's a theory. That's a theory as to why this is occurring as it is at the moment. A little bit more preparedness from the Portugal club in just a moment. Probably a high pressure system over Finland, Russia, not shifting from Wayne as well. Knowing a little bit about the weather by the sound of it. Where were we? Finally at his desk. Yeah, by the way, I am in a positive frame of mind. That's good to hear, Kate. Thank you for that. Blocked my Airbnb for 2 months as we have major building works going on. With the amount of rain, it looks like I will need to extend the block for another month. My goodness. Yeah, big. That's in the post as well, isn't it? The effect on businesses and the economy. I think there's going to be a supply chain disruption as well. It's looking a bit bare in the Intermarché last night, I have to say. I think we can anticipate food prices rising, can't we? Because a lot of crops have been affected here in Portugal. What a beacon of hope and positivity I am this morning. Well-being close to an ocean might be a factor contributing to the weather. All right, for the peninsula, but also close to the Mediterranean Sea as well. Chris, Pete has inspired me to want my own steam room and sauna. Need to turn that. I'm going to be building a sauna. We get a little steam pod here, but I'm going to build a sauna for Mrs. M. We get warm, wet storms from Hawaii in the winter. It's storm after storm. It's called the Pineapple Express. Oh, shouldn't be on pizza. Shouldn't be on California. The Pineapple Express. You need a name for yours. How about, no, I can't say that live on air. Give a thought to the passengers who have landed in the Algarve looking for winter sun. My next door neighbor told me to do him a favor and take the weather back to the UK with me when I left. Yeah, I mean, if you've come to Portugal for a bit of a break at the moment, it's not ideal. Jet streams always drive the weather. That is long known. The question is, why do the problem jet streams seem to only drive for 3 to 6 hours per day daily? The plot thickens. It may be slightly more reinforced than I'd originally planned after last week. Thank goodness my builders were aware of the rain and winds, and we have tons of concrete under our solar panels. Okay, that's good. You're keeping your powder dry by the sound of it. Okay, finally then this morning, we've checked in. We're not having that many calls for help, thankfully, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people in need of help. So let's bear that in mind. Great to see you and some folks we don't often see here in the morning. Good to see you. We've looked at the weather. Let's take a look now at a little bit of prepping. Everyone's a prepper now. Hashtag. I've got, that was something else I was looking at this morning. We've got our ongoing update thread there, and the aftermath, of course, of Kristen. Now we're into Leonardo. But a couple of contributions. Thank you very much to Simon for these this morning. I did talk about how, there was a really good, thank you, Kate. You popped this up onto the Portugal Club. Let me put the link to it into the chat. Bear with. Oh my goodness. Yes, the damp weather's getting to my chest. It sounds like, doesn't it? Yeah, thank you, Kate, for this. This guy talks a lot of sense. You should get him on the show. If you know him, by all means, I would love to talk to him on the show. There's a link to him. Cheaper than you think. I think that's a bit of odd off-grid advice. He also gives sound advice about living on a tight budget. Excellent stuff. I've seen his face before on YouTube talking about life in Portugal. I've got a hand-cranked radio review. He doesn't like a hand crank first thing in the morning. And we have one of these, the oldest we have, a solar radio. Look at this. Don't let a disaster go to waste. That is a political slogan, as well as anyone in the off-grid business at the moment. So these are the sort of radios we're talking about with a solar panel on them. AM, FM. What's that first one there? I can't work that out. VHF. That is FM, isn't it? So you've got your hand crank capability. You've got a solar panel, and there are three ways of charging it. AM, FM, and NOAA. What is that? Is that a special government channel? And you can use it as a torch as well. That's the sort of thing. And there's a review of them over there at the Portugal Club. And Simon, thank you for these, mate. 2 kilowatt. No, that's not. That's a 200 watt solar panel there, and nearly 2.5 kilowatt eco-worthy generator there. These are solar generators, not petrol or fuel driven. The what's that called? I don't know. That's a poor bit of branding. Afarai? I wonder. Foldable 200 watt solar panel with a 2.4 kilowatt, 2,000, just over 2,000 watt hours there, and another one, Fossibot. I've got a feeling they're all the same inside and made in the same Chinese factory, but different companies put different badging on them. So there you go. The link to that going into the chat, and your last. No, that's not the right link. Let me just give you that right now. The equipment, off-grid preparedness, equipment research and recommendations, an ongoing updatable thread there. If you're into that and you've got any time to help us with that, it will be gratefully received. Thank you very much. Jetstreams, Chris, how gadgety I am. I will be able to preheat the sauna when it senses the car coming down the track. You're like Sterling Moss. Personally, I find folding panels very inefficient at capturing the wattage compared to boards. Thank you. That's a good insight. There you go. There's the link to that research over there at the Portugal Club. Thank you for being here this morning. And finally, then, a couple of suggestions. Why not do what cats do? Oh, before we go there, look, here's some yoga for the current time. Stretch upward, downward into your downward dog. Touch your toes. Lean forward, curl up into the fetal position, and stay there for the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Whoever made that in the first place, it's very beautifully done as well. Yoga during Leonardo, basically there. And why not here from Casa Munson? There are actually 3. How many cats in this picture? There's actually 3. The white cat who's actually turning ginger in front of our very eyes in the background there. But look, brother and sister curled up. That's some good. We could do worse than model that sort of behavior. I mean, these guys sleep 20 hours a day or something. It's not a bad way to go, is it? There they are on a nice blanket, curled up with each other, making for a lovely photograph. I think that Mrs. M took last night. Take good care. Fica bem, fica em casa, and look after yourselves and each other. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Take care. Bye for now.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts.